So it's taken me far longer than it should to get around to discussing Us, but this film left such an impact on me that I feel like it's never too late to discuss it. So the big thing with this film is the fact that everybody is trying to compare it to Get Out. Obviously, Peele wrote and directed this, as he directed Get Out. So everyone's going to say, well, that was a colossal success, how is he going to do it with this one? But actually, I feel that, apart from the fact it's the same director, they're incomparable. If they were by different directors, they would never be compared. They're completely different films, completely different setups, very different emotional journey. And I feel like this one's more of a horror, the other one being more of a thriller. However, I will answer the question, which do I prefer? Maybe not the most popular response. I preferred Us. Maybe one of the main reasons why I preferred Us is because I'm very fascinated by doppelgangers as a concept. And Us focuses on a family who are being terrorised by their doppelgangers. And they are kind of remote. They're not entirely remote. It's not like a cabin in the woods where there's no one around. But they're relatively remote enough that they can be terrorised, and it's quite an emotional journey. Physically, we don't go to too many places. It's kind of all set in one main location for the most part, although I do love the scenes set in the fun fair. I love horrors based on fun fairs, always have, always will. But this is definitely more character driven. So as the family come under more threat and it gets more dangerous, we start to learn more about who these doppelgangers are and why they are there. To begin with, it's absolutely not immediately obvious. And that I loved, because sometimes with films like this you know who they are and how they got there, and it's just a case of how are they going to defeat them. But with this, not only are we trying to work out how they're going to defeat them, but we're also trying to work out who are they, what are they doing there, and you know how did they find them. Lupita Nyong'o is obviously the driving force in this film, and in both characters, all of the actors in fact play both of their characters, themselves and their doppelganger, really well, and you can kind of see the strength in the acting when they're playing the scared family member and the ferocious doppelganger. Visually as well, there's a lot of red in this. It's very bloodthirsty as a film. It's not overly dark, like the colour palette is not kind of dense, but it's not obviously light and fluffy either. I think they got the colours pretty perfect. Visually, I think it is a very impressive film. There's quite a bit of analepsis, a little bit of flashbacks, but it's not an overkill. It's done well that we can keep track of whether we're in the past or the present. The flashbacks are necessary to understand more about the doppelgangers and why they're there and what their purpose is. But I would say, certainly for me, it's not obvious who they are until very close to the end, in fact. And it was for me, a very surprise ending. Maybe other people were able to work it out beforehand, but I loved it when we found out. In those scenes surrounding the explanation, I can't go in any more detail without spoiling it, but I thought it was incredible. So I'm not going to say that Us is one of my favourite films of this year, because it's not. I do think it was better than Get Out, but Get Out was still very good. Peele is definitely at the top of his game. The narrative for this film was very good, the premise was very well executed, the actors were all brilliant. I don't ever give star ratings, but I feel like I have to with this film because it's not perfect, it's not 10 out of 10 for me. I feel like it could have done with something else, but I can't quite put my finger on it. But I'd say that if I was pushed, 8.5 out of 10.